We'll begin with a bit of a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge we are gathering on the traditional territories of many nations. Presently, we are meeting in Toronto on land covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties signed with multiple Mississauga and Chippewa bands. We acknowledge First Nations and their traditional territories across North America as the caretakers of this land. With the membership present at this time, we have quorum, so we can move to the first items of business, and that being the vote. So I'm going to pause for a moment here and put up our agenda. Right, so here is the agenda for the day, visible on the screen, and it was also provided in the AGM invitation. So I'd like to place forward a vote to accept the 2023 AGM agenda. And those of you in agreement can just raise your hand in the reaction feature in Zoom. Excellent. Still waiting for a few more raised hands. And for those of you who are looking for the option, if you're not seeing it, there's a more option in your menu panel. And if you click on that, you should see reactions, and there you'll be able to raise your hand. We're almost there. Okay, I think we have enough raised hands to say motion accepted. Okay. Thank you. Motion accepted. The next item is to vote for the 2022 AGM minutes, which again were posted on the Nanps website and included as part of the registration. So I'd like to put forth a second motion. You guys can take down your hands. And then I'll put forth a second motion to accept the 2022 AGM minutes. Membership, please vote at this time. Great. And if the raised hand icon is giving any challenges, feel free to add in the comment section, yay or nay. That might be a workaround as well. At this stage, I think we can officially say motion accepted, though.
Yep, agreed.
Great. Okay, so this takes us to our next section, the financials, which will be discussed by our auditor for Nanps, Jeffrey Milgram, as well as our treasurer, Blair Merrick. So I hand the screen over to you, Blair. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Natasha. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us wherever you're joining us from. Again, my name is Blair Merrick, and I have been the Nanps treasurer since July of 2021. So this is my third AGM, and I'm happy to be back.
Oh.
As treasurer, it's my privilege to introduce our first speaker today, Mr. Jeffrey Milgram, professional accountant and auditor. If you've attended past AGMs, I'm sure his name and his face are familiar to you. So Jeffrey has been the Nanps auditor for a number of years now, and today he will walk us through the audited financial highlights for the year ended December 31st, 2022. Once Jeffrey is completed, we'll take any questions you might have about these audited financial statements, and then I'll make a couple of motions that we make every year. So, Jeffrey, if you're ready, it's over to you, and I'll share a screen and with the financial statements, and I'll move up and down at your command here.
Perfect. I appreciate that, Blair. Thanks very much, everybody. Hopefully everybody can hear me just fine. It's usually got me off mute. That's great. Okay. Just for those people who are new to the organization and are not familiar with me, though I'm been around for a couple of years now. Name is Jeffrey Milgram. Firm is by the same name. I work primarily in not-for-profit registered charity audits and reviews. Also with a lot of smaller organizations doing compilation engagements, personal tax returns, pay the bills. But the mainstay is working with a lot of not-for-profits, anywhere from 50,000 in revenues up to 50 million, and right across primarily in the GTA and a few areas beyond. And if there's any questions along the way, I'll try and handle them. It shouldn't be too bad, and but Blair and I can probably field most of the questions along the way. Where I usually start, Blair, is on page 5, which is the income statement.
Yep.
Now, letting everybody know what my position is. My position is, as auditor, I'm external to the organization. I work with management to put the statements together and make sure that the numbers and the representations and the finances represented by management to the membership is accurate as possible, and is clear of any errors or mistakes or misrepresentations. That's my external view. The financial statements are the representation of management to the membership. I just report on them. And as a courtesy, because I'm usually fairly familiar with the numbers and the compilation of them, I usually help at this time of year and the AGM in presenting them to the membership on behalf of management. But they're not my statements, they're management statements to the membership. The reason I start on the revenue is kind of like, this is the mapping out of what happened during the fiscal year. Now, don't forget, we're now in October, though you wouldn't be able to tell by the weather, at least not in Toronto. These are the statements ending December 22. So we're already looking at something that is expired or is 10 months old at this point in time. So you got to keep that in mind. But fortunately, much of the operations are indicative of past years that pre-COVID and post-COVID are more or less the same. The COVID years were obviously an anomaly for about 3 years when the sales and the get-togethers in the various locations throughout the GTA weren't being held. But then eventually came back both in pickup and delivery and pre-order, and now kind of a mixed pre-order, pickup, and on-site. So if you look at your line, I'm just going to run through the lines there. Total revenues were $82,000 last year, only $51,000 this year. The main decrease in your revenues last year was from last year to this year was the grants. But the grants were received and specifically designated and to fund some of the consulting that went on last year, database, redoing the website, and so on. So that was really a specified fund designated for a specific purpose. But in the general operations, which consist of like your memberships, you've moved up ever so slightly from just under 16,000 to just over 16,000, which is fairly consistent, a little bit increase there. Donations stayed relatively consistent at 11,000. Interest and other on the, small investments, 1,400 last year, 1,400 this year. So you can see, except for the specified grant income that was attributed to the 2021 year, the 2022 year is fairly indicative of the past years. 51,000 gross revenues. Expenses, again, except for the, the consulting fees that were for a specific project last year, we're looking at relatively consistent, year over year numbers. Printing and mailing, little under $7,000 last year, a little over $7,000 this year. Professional fees, $5,000 last year, $6,000 this year. You will see this year and next year, increases due to inflationary pressures, which hit everything from groceries to rents to, fuel at the pump to professional fees. Property taxes, this is on the 2 pieces of land. I believe that a discussion is coming up later in the agenda on the 2 pieces of land that are held by the organization, but those are the property taxes on them, which just stayed relatively consistent year over year. And bottom line, $36,000 last year and $15,000 this year. I can field any question. Are there any questions at this stage in time on the operations? Silence. Okay, excellent. That means I'm doing a good job. Or everybody's muted still. If you want to flip over to the balance sheet, Blair, that would be great, which is on page 3.
Yep.
Okay, and again, just keeping in mind that these numbers are 10 months old. It's a snapshot. As of December 31st, 22, what is the organization holding or what do they owe? At the end of last year, cash position is $155,000. Investments $12,000. So you can see out of your $173,000 of current assets, most of it's in cash or investments that will be maturing in the short term. Long term, $24,000. Again, relatively a cash position. These are just long term, just investments that will be maturing over the next year or so. And then, of course, the 2 properties that I alluded to and that are on the balance sheet, $75,000. That doesn't change. That's a cost purchase or the cost donation value of those 2 pieces of the land. Total assets, $273, $241 last year. Okay, liabilities this year, $8,000, last year, $5,000. That's, property taxes that are owing at the end of the year, professional fees, bookkeeping fees, any ancillary costs of running the organization. And deferred revenues, memberships paid in advance for 2023, but received prior to 2022. 17,000 this year, 18,000 last year. As you can see, most people are paying their memberships in advance of the oncoming fiscal year. And there's a project grant, a little bit of residual left over in the bank that is designated for a particular project. Okay, so total assets, 273. So the organization is in fairly good stead. You're looking at, let's say, that bottom line of 232,000, the unrestricted net assets. That's your cushion. Okay, those are the monies that are and the investments that are held in reserve for future operations that aren't in the immediate that aren't needed necessarily in the immediate. All right, and that pretty much covers it. There's the notes to the statements, but I will let you know they're fairly clear and concise. There is no item that I would want to point out of that there's like any contingencies or any commitments that aren't normal operations. I mean, remember, North American Native Plants, fairly small organization, lean budget, completely volunteer run. So we don't have a lot of wages, or there's no wages, as a matter of fact. It's all volunteer run. So, of course, a lot done with a very small budget, but very active and very prominent. Okay, any questions? I'm more than happy to field them along with Blair if necessary.
Jeffrey, there's one question, but it may be a residual from our earlier votes. Barry S., you have your hand up. So if you do have a question, feel free to unmute yourself now. If not, lower your hand. Okay, I think it's just a residual hand. I'm just going to physically lower it.
Okay. If there's any questions down the road, during the year, the membership can contact me through Blair, and I'm more than happy to field any questions that, if something pops up at a later time. All right.
Yeah, thanks again, Jeffrey. Always well done. Always the highlights are clear, which as you put it, reduces the need for questions when things are so straightforward. But on that note, it's time for a couple of motions. And just a reminder, only members can vote on official motions. If you're not a member, we appreciate your attendance. Please check out our website for more information on how to become a member. So motion number one, move that the audited financial statements be approved. And again, please use the raise of hand.
Well, look at all these people. I think about it.
Again, please use the raise of hand. The hand clap I'll accept as well, but raise of hand is the preferred icon.
And again, these are located under the reaction item in your menu bar, like a little smiley face with a plus if you're calling in from your phone. And located under the 3 dots with the more if you're using a desktop.
And correct, Catherine. All right, we're above 50%.
Some people are not members, so
Correct. So I think we can call that approval. Please lower your hands again. And motion number 2. So the board in general and myself more specifically have worked with Jeffrey for a number of years, myself 2+ years. We're very happy with the working relationship, value his work, his feedback, his advice throughout the year. The board discussed our relationship with Jeffrey a couple months ago and are unanimously in favor of retaining his services for the upcoming year. And on that basis, I move that the membership approve retention of Jeffrey as auditor for the upcoming year. And again, member attendees, please raise your hands to approve this motion. All right, you're getting good at this. I think we've that's our quickest approval of the night, or of the afternoon rather. So Jeffrey, welcome back for another year.
I appreciate that, Blair. Actually, I do have a question for you guys. I deal with a lot of other not-for-profit organizations that there might be some synergies with North American native plants. One of them I work with is to deal with is dealing with pollinators, bee conservation, and helping plant and rejuvenate, let's say, bee populations throughout North America. Would you guys be interested in liaisoning with maybe some of those and on certain projects?
Yeah, absolutely. We are. That was an area that the board discussed in the past years. Our relationships, fostering deeper relationships with like-minded organizations. If you've got some contacts, Jeffrey, please forward, and I'll take care of.
Sure, I think there'd be some good relationship there. What I'll do is I'll put it forth to the other organization and get their permission first, obviously. And if they're interested in pursuing it, then I'll have them contact you and the board directly. But as I work with each of the organizations, I see a lot of crossover in mission and in effort and in the way you operate the organizations. And I think that maybe even if something as simple as, putting out to their membership, when you have your plant sales, it's something I can almost imagine their membership would be highly interested in correlating with, or even participating and endorsing your sales. So that would give, a lot more exposure to people who are truly interested in what you have to put forth, and would just endorse your mission even more so. Maybe even become members in the long run, simply because it's what they do and what they're interested in. So I'll put that forth, and I'll let them pick up the baton if they are so interested. But I don't do this too often, because as an auditor, I really got to stay independent. Right. But when I see something that would benefit, two clients in the long run, I'll kind of step out of my role slightly.
No, thanks very much. It's something that we're always interested in. Our biggest, the only obstacle we have, or our biggest obstacle, is just the resources to effectively maintain those relationships. But definitely we are interested in that type of relationship. So okay. Thank you for that.
Okay, great. Just letting the membership know, I won't be staying long today. I have a social engagement that I'm supposed to be to, and out of town. So as soon as I'm off, I'll be departing. But please keep me posted, and I'll look forward to, actually, Blair, make sure I get a link to the rest of the meeting, and I'll be able to watch that at a future time.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Jeffrey. All the best to you and your family.
Okay, thank you very much. Regards to everybody. Have a great and safe winter.
Great. All right, so thanks again. And before I pass the microphone to Alice Kong, just a bit of a heads up. As treasurer, something that I brought to the board's attention a few months ago is that membership pricing hasn't changed since 2015. And some analysis has been done with respect to membership fees and the costs of certain membership benefits. And so we are in the process of reviewing membership pricing, and that could happen during the course of this upcoming year. So just something to be aware of. And with that, Alice, if you're ready, I will pass the mic to you to speak about the state of the board of directors.
Thank you, Blair. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Glad to see everyone here today when it's such a beautiful day outside. I'll be introducing your board, but before I do that, I would like to say thank you to the board members that are stepping down over the past year. Katie McDonald became a board member a year ago, and we all felt her passion and her enthusiasm. She was involved in planning our events. She worked on the webinars. Katie and I attended a seed exchange event in January, and it was one of our first in-person events. And I was very pleased to meet her, but unfortunately she's unable to continue. And we thank her for all the work that she did put in over the past year. The second board member that has left is Janice Kyle, and I'm sure many of you know Janice. She was on the board for 13 years. She's been involved in a variety of roles, almost every aspect of what Nanps does. I first met her as plant sale volunteer when I first started, and she was very meticulous in organizing the tree and shrubs section, as well as helping me pack up my car at the end of the day. Janice has taken on the role of treasurer. She's also acted as interim secretary and treasurer at a time that we were in between having somebody for those positions. She took it upon herself to take that on. She's worked on organizing our annual retreat. She's worked on organizing AGMs in the past. She gave a webinar last year, rewilding the veggie garden. She has an interest in agriculture and introduced us to the Guelph Organic Conference. There's probably many things I'm forgetting. But we have to say many thanks to Janice for all her areas of interest with Nanps. For herself, she's bought a property east of Peterborough and is working to restore that. It's got some reed canary grass, and I wish her the best in that restoration project. For the two board members that are leaving, we have sent them a thank you. I don't think they're here today, but we sent them a thank you note and a gift as well in appreciation. Secondly, I would like to mention the current board members that are continuing into the next year. And you've already met Natasha, who did the introduction, and Blair, our treasurer. You will meet the rest of the board later on. Lynn Wu is our secretary, and she will be giving the year in review. John Foster is on the land management committee and will be giving an update. Adam Centurion has organized the garden video contest, and you'll be hearing about those submissions from him later, as well as myself on the plant sale committee. We're very fortunate to have 3 potential new board members that we will be voting on today. And I'm very excited from what I've heard about these people. The first one is Sarah Gladkey. She's a senior manager in communications and affiliate nonprofit arts organizations, the Toronto Arts Council and Toronto Arts Foundation. And Sarah has told us that her motivation to become interested in native plants comes from her mother, who had a property in the Kawarthas and became interested in planting native plant garden there, and as well as in her home in Toronto. I think Sarah's here. If you could just say hello for a moment, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled with the possibility of becoming a board member. As Alice mentioned, my passion for native plants is new, but is strong, and I hope to spread the interest and awareness of the value of native plants to my children, like my mother did to me, and beyond as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. The second new board member is Clement Kent, and you might have met Clement earlier this year at Nanps webinar. Clement has multiple skills that I've heard about. One is that he's founder of the Parkdale and Toronto Horticultural Society. He's planted many gardens in the Toronto area to support pollinators. He's also a co-founder of Project Swallowtail. As well, he's an author. He's written a pamphlet about how to start a pollinator garden. And Clement, I think we met maybe about 10 years ago at Canada Blooms. One year you had a display where you tried to, Canada Blooms is in March, and you tried to force some of the native plants into bloom at that time. It seemed like a labor of love. So Clement, can you just maybe say hello?
Sure. Hello, everybody. And I'm wonderful, excited to be possibly joining the board. I recall meeting Jim Hodgins in 1976 and becoming aware of the activities of Wildflower Magazine and Nanps since then, and hope to contribute. And as Jeffrey Milgram said, I am a member of one of those groups that plants the pollinator gardens, so I'm part of the liaison to them. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Our third potential new board member is Kim Bell. And I met Kim for the first time at the plant sale this year, and Kim took on the role of greeter. So you might have met her if you were at the plant sale. She would have been at the door. And I was very pleased. Sometimes it's hard to find people to fit that position. Kim has studied at York University and has a Bachelor of Environmental Studies. She's currently studying at the University of Guelph for a master's in rural planning. And her interest after she graduated is or one of her interests is in protecting wetlands. Kim is also on the Land Management Committee. She's a speaker. She's had a market garden, which she operates. And Kim, would you like to say hello? Or if you have anything to add?
Oh, hi, Alice. Thanks. So I used to work for the Guelph Organic Conference, and that's actually how I learned about Nanps. And I am deeply, deeply concerned and also motivated to help preserve biodiversity. And when I look at Nanps and the dedication in this organization and your reach, I think we have the chance of making a really tangible difference in terms of helping to preserve biodiversity. And I really want to be part of that. And I'd also like to say that I've been welcomed so warmly by the board, and I really appreciate the mentoring that's going to happen from the existing board members. So it's a really positive space to be in, and I'm delighted to be volunteering.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to working with the 9 board members that you will be voting for now. And so I will put forth the motion that we accept the 6 existing board members to continue, and for the 3 potential new board members, Sarah, Clement, and Kim, to become a director on the board. And I see some raised hands already, so we'll just give you a minute. Okay, yeah, that looks good. I think the motion has passed. And yeah, as I said, I'm excited for the next year. For the next item on the agenda, I will be turning the mic over to Lynn Wu. Lynn is our secretary, as I mentioned, and she will be presenting the year in review from the last AGM to the present.
Thanks, Alison, and welcome everyone. As mentioned, my name's Lynn, and I am one of the board members and also the secretary for the board. I'm happy to review the last year for Nanps, and there's been a lot of exciting things which we've done in the last year that I'm happy to share with everyone. So just to start off, Nanps membership has increased again over the last year, and it is currently at just under 800 members, at 797 members as of the end of September, compared to 718 members compared to last year at the same time. We thank our long-term volunteer, Rolf, for your continuing efforts in keeping the membership database up to date. Obviously, it's very welcome news to have our membership, which has been growing over the last number of years, and hopefully that continues to be a trend. You also see here on the upper right-hand side, communications, we have the monthly e-news, which is sent by our communications coordinator, Ali, as well as our quarterly Blazing Star, which was edited by Irene and she has been editing the Blazing Star for over 20 years. Thank you. As well as Vicky, who does the proofreading for the Blazing Star as well. You'll see on the upper left-hand side, CDEX. Many thanks to those who have donated seeds for us this year. There were 26 seed donated in fall 2023, and 78 seed requests were fulfilled, as well as a seed donation to 5 groups for their events. So thank you for that. You also see here we had many speakers and workshops over the last year. These can all be found if you missed them on our YouTube channel or website. The website link is there as well for those recordings. So we had on January 17th, 2023, Making Gorgeous Pollinator Gardens, How to Do It with Clement Kent. We had on February 17th, our Plants as Friends, Foes, Medicines, and Kin, a panel-based exploration of Indigenous relationships with the botanical world. The panel discussion was facilitated by Junaid Khan of the Pollinated Partnerships Canada, and the panelists were Carolyn Crawley, Crystal Millian, Joseph Pitawanakawat, and Christine Lakasevich, and it was presented in partnership with WWF Canada, and was certainly a very interesting discussion, and obviously of a lot of interest with Nanps as we continue to partner and engage with Indigenous peoples as well in our events. We also had on March 21st, 2023, Native Shrubs for Your Garden with Colleen Cirillo, as well as our most recent workshop, The Role of Non-Native Plants in Butterfly Communities with Dr. Heather Karuba on September 19th, 2023. So hopefully some of you have had the chance to join our various speaker series and workshops over the last year. And certainly there has been a lot of work put into them, and thank you to our events committee who has helped with that, including Natasha as well. We're also starting to plan for our speaker series and workshops over the next year, so there will be more to come. We also wanted to thank our partnerships here. Sorry, if you can stay on the last slide for another few seconds. Oh, can we still go back one slide?
Sorry about that, Lynn. My computer froze for a second. Keep
No
on
problem.
talking. I will adjust this for you.
Thank you. So I also wanted to acknowledge some of our partners in helping us with the webinars and speaker workshops. So the January 17th and March 21st webinars were offered with support from TD Friends of the Environment Foundation grant in a partnership with the David Suzuki Foundation. All of the webinars were well attended, and as I mentioned, 3 of them were recorded and can be found on the website if you would like to review them. I think since we're on the slide, I will just go on. Oh, we're just back. Okay, so I did want to mention, since we're on here, just the TD Friends of Foundation grant and support. So we've had a grant approved last year, and has helped found 1 short video and 2 webinars I can mention, as well as an information sheet and practical guide and webinar. So thank you for that, and obviously lots of support from our partners as well. Natasha, next slide. We've also had a number of in-person events this year, which was very exciting, right after, as COVID has prevented us from doing a lot of things in person. So this year we had the Toronto Botanical Garden sale on May 20th, 2022. And we have a few pictures here from the sale if you missed it. And we did offer both online advance orders and floor sales. Thank you very much to the plant sale committee of the 10 volunteers who organized the sales, and it was sold out ahead of time. We had a couple of interesting information tables at the sale, one with Carol Pasternak about raising butterflies, and one with volunteers from the Cliffcrest Butterfly Way who provided information about pollinators, as well as growing native plants from seed. You'll see Pollinate TO also had a table at the sale this year and gave out plant kits to their grant recipients. Since 2019, Pollinate TO grants have supported 150 community-led projects and have created over 400 gardens across Canada, across Toronto. So thankful for that as well. As you can see in the pictures, definitely was a very well-attended event. A lot of people who came out and a lot of volunteers who helped out as well. So thank you all very much for that. At the bottom there, you'll see we also attended several community events this year. In the past, prior to COVID, Nanps attended about 10 community events each year. This year, we attended about 5 events as we get started with the in-person events this year as well. So we had the Milliken Mills High School event, May 30th, 2023, which was an environmental day for students. We had the Landscape Ontario open house on August 19, 2023, as well as the Allen Gardens plant sale on May 13th and 14th, 2023. Not pictured here, but there were also a few other events, such as the Seed Sitters event by the Butterfly Way Project in Etobicoke on January 28th, 2023, as well as some of the CD Saturday Get the Jump on Spring events at Toronto Botanical Garden on March 25th, 2023. And also want to thank our volunteers and some of the board members who have attended these events, representing Nanps and giving more information for the community and students as well. Our restoration committee helped the David Suzuki Foundation with the maintenance and replanting of 2 of the canoes for the Butterway project this summer in July. One was at the Essex Junior and Senior Public School, and the other one was Trinity Bellwoods Park. Other things, our board of directors that you've met, that Alice introduced earlier, we have met on monthly Zoom meetings this year, as well as an in-person August 2023 in-person retreat event, where we all were there in person, doing some additional and more in-depth discussions at the Toronto Botanical Garden, which is also very nice as well. And also wanted to mention several of our partnerships, many of which I've already mentioned previously. City of Toronto with Pollinate TO, David Suzuki Foundation, Halter Environmental Network, Friends of the Foundation, Friends of the Environment Foundation, and World Wildlife Fund, WWF. So lots of exciting things over the last year, and hope to do lots more this year. We have lots of exciting plans coming up. And the Land Management Committee, which I haven't mentioned in these 2 slides, but we will be going into more depth. John will be speaking a little bit later to talk a little bit more in depth about the Land Management Committee and what they've been up to this past year as well. So with that, that brings us to a close for the Nanps year in review section. We will now next be playing the most recent video in our Nanps video series. And I will do a quick introduction of the video. So the Danforth Pollinator Pathway highlights the value of native plants in pollinator pathways and tells the story of how a Toronto neighborhood took steps to create an environment attractive to pollinators. The short film features Echo Railton, a community leader of the Danforth Pollinator Pathways project, who describes how her neighborhood came together to create a network of pollinator-friendly gardens at homes and in public places, and identifies some important features that they included to help pollinators thrive. We hope that this story will encourage individuals, groups, and communities to investigate making their own multi-season pollinator-friendly gardens. This video was completed in partnership with the TD Friends of the Environment Foundation, the David Suzuki Foundation, and the City of Toronto's Pollinate TO program. Enjoy.
The migratory monarch butterfly makes its way from the south, across the lake, and up into our neighborhood, where a pollinator pathway is waiting for it.
Hello, my name is Echo Railton. Welcome to my garden. It's considered a pollinator hub. There are other
Gardens like mine, which are all native plants, or at least 80% native plants, we're doing our best. And the reason that that's important is that the pollinators local to this area require that for their habitat and their food source. We're encouraging other neighbors to have pollinator hubs on their properties too. And we've also got a school and a public park involved. We're calling it the Danforth Gardens Pollinator Pathway. When I moved in, I joined the neighborhood association. And you'll meet Misha, who is another member. He and I worked on making a pollinator pathway through our neighborhood. The sites were chosen first by enthusiastic community members. The reason a lot of us chose to put our showiest gardens in the front is so that we were a beacon for the neighbors, showing what a native plant garden could look like. I thought it was important to show that you can plant a beautiful space with native plants. We've learned that some of the pollinators have a very short range, so it's important that our gardens are not so far away from one another so that they can go from one place to the other. And other pollinators, as you know, monarchs, for instance, have a very long range. So making a pollinator corridor helps them find the food that they need and the habitat that they need in a variety of spaces. Our pollinator pathway has at least 10 residential gardens in it, and also a big garden at the elementary school where we're getting the children involved. We also got children involved in planting at a nearby playground called Oates Park. If you're thinking of starting your own pollinator patch, what you're going to need to do is first decide where you want it to be, and then choose plants that make sense in that area, whether they be sun-loving plants or shady plants. Then look at how many plants you want to include. I think that 3 blooming in spring, another 3 that bloom in the summer, and 3 that bloom in the fall is ideal, because then you'll never be in a position where you're not offering nectar to the bees and butterflies. Then you're going to need to prepare the site. Plants can cost between $5 and $8 each, or find local people who are already into native plants. You might be able to get your plants for free. For a larger space, such as the school garden or at the park, you'll need volunteers. We had our neighborhood association we could lean on, so there were already people on a mailing list. We also contacted the neighborhood groups through Facebook and printed off posters that said worker bees needed and put them on telephone poles all around the neighborhood. In the first couple of years, it's important to water and weed the garden, but after a few years, it no longer becomes necessary. I have learned a tremendous amount since starting this garden, and I'm so happy to be able to give this property that I was not using back to the pollinators. I feel a sense of accomplishment, like in a world where I feel often like there's nothing I can do about the planet and the ecosystem and all the problems that be. This is what I can do. This is a tiny piece of reconciliation with the land, of being eco-conscious. When I see bees and butterflies in here having a great time, it makes me so happy.
That wasn't a wonderful video. Thanks so much for putting that on the agenda. Next up, we have John Foster from our Land Management Committee and also a member of the board to give us some updates on what's happening with Land Management Committee and Nanps properties. So I send the stage over to you, John.
Okay. We have a presentation with this, so I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I'll just be in the moment of putting that up for you.
Okay. Are we going to make this full screen, Natasha? Okay. This is our report from the Land Management Committee. I hope you can all hear me. We have 2 properties in Nanps. Next slide. Okay. We currently own 2 properties. These are Shining Tree Woods, Zinket Island Cove. Shining Tree Woods is on near Cultus. It's north of Long Point, which is on Lake Erie. Zinket Island Cove is located west of Lions Head, Ontario, on the Saugeen Bruce Peninsula. It's just southeast of Pine Tree Harbor, which is on Lake Huron. Both the properties are managed and stewarded by the committee. Oops. So Shining Tree Woods, we purchased that in 1992. It's relatively undisturbed Carolinian woodland. There's about 296 species and several unusual fauna that we found there in a survey when we first bought it. We want to just keep it as a woods that's not too disturbed. And our main objective is to protect endangered species on the property, including the 33 cucumber magnolias that are growing there. It's one of only 8 habitats in Canada and one of only 3 that you find cucumber magnolia on. Here's a map showing where the property is, located near Cultus, Ontario. Zinket Island Cove, our other property, is a 5-hectare elbow on the Saugeen Bruce Peninsula. It's designated as an ANSI. It has 360 meters of undeveloped shoreline. There's dense forest there with the Alvar just to the north of it on the shoreline. In a past inventory, they found a few invasives, and we tried to go there in June, but we weren't too successful with that. The Escarpment Biosphere Conservancy holds an easement on the property, and we very often get regular reports from them on the condition of the property. Next slide. Here's Zinket Island Cove, about where it's located near Pine Tree Harbor. It's almost adjacent to Lake Huron. Here's our activities this year. We've been, before we were relatively inactive. This year we've done 3 visits to Shining Tree Woods, 1 to Zinket Island Cove. The visits to Shining Tree Woods were done in the spring and in the late summer. Zinket Island Cove, we went in June. We got near the property, but because of the bush being very thick, we were only able to get to the edge of the property. We met twice in the spring on March 16th and April 18th to discuss planning for the 3 field trips and what the committee needs to do for both the properties and for the Land Management Committee in the future. One of our committee members, Kim Bell, has done some great suggestions for risk and safety management on LNC field trips, so that'll be affecting what we do in the future for many of our trips. Next slide. Our plans for the near future include this list of items: safety and risk management for both properties, seed collecting and foraging. We're going to be discussing that. We had notes and photos from the visits in the spring, and we're going to be discussing where we want to put those. We need deeds for both the properties and also insurance. For future goals, this is our list that we will need to be looking at, and that's stewardship is a big item on that list, as well as in the last list we listed property maintenance plans, which include looking after the properties and whether we're going to do that ourselves or do it in-house. We were also maybe discussing putting footpaths in the properties, but we want to make sure that if we do that, that it's something that is beneficial to both the properties, and that if it affects them environmentally, then we won't be doing it. We also, because we own 2 properties, it might be a good idea if we maybe take a look at joining the Ontario Land Trust Alliance, which is the umbrella organization for any group that owns property here in Ontario. Next slide, please. And time for questions, acknowledgements to the various people, the present committee, Harold Smith from the past, who ably provided leadership and counsel to the committee. These members, Blair Merrick, Adam Barnes, and Rosette Gija, who are not on the committee at the moment, but who have been very beneficial early on in the committee's activities earlier this year. We are very grateful to our treasurer, Blair Merrick, who gives us hosting for many of our committee meetings. Laura Pisco, one of our committee members, hosted us for the Zinc Island Cove in June. And Adam Centurion, one of our directors, has been providing plant locations by GPS, seed collection, and contact with the Indigenous community. I would also like to thank Kim Bell, one of our new board members, for her risk and safety management considerations for LNC. So that's basically our what we've been doing with the Land Management Committee this year, and with the 2 properties, Zinc Island Cove and Shiny Tree Woods. And I believe we now have time for any questions from anybody who's here today. If you would care to raise your hand. Blair?
Sorry,
Stage.
yeah, I'd muted myself. I'm back. Just wanted to acknowledge, John, first off, kudos to you for taking the leadership of this committee that had been dormant or become dormant during the challenging pandemic period. Without you, none of this would have happened. And this all, we made a commitment at last year's AGM to move forward with our properties. And again, despite the challenge of resourcing at the board level, you put your hand up, and again, without your leadership, none of that work happened. And I was fortunate to be with the committee in late April and visited Shine Tree Woods for the first time. It was a real, I'd only heard, I'd seen pictures, but being there in person was a real pleasant eye opener. I'd never seen, the provincial flower of Ontario, the Trillium, in such density and in such quantity. It was, not to be dramatic. It was magical. And not to put you on the spot, but I thought I'd just ask, is there any consideration yet to having a member excursion to Shine Tree Woods? This is something that that Nanps had done pre-pandemic, prior to, again, the dormancy of the committee. And again, I realize there is some certainly ecological sensitivity to the space that committee members with again, professional backgrounds in ecological work have identified. But again, just thought I'd ask on behalf of the board members, or the membership who are here, and those who aren't here, who I'm sure might have an interest in visiting this space as well. So again, not to put you on the spot, just thought I'd ask.
There's been excursions in the past. I've been on 2 of them myself. There was an excursion to Bacchus Woods, which also included St. William Forestry Station and also the Shining Tree Woods. We went into the north side of the woods on the Bacchus Woods excursion. How we got there by bus, by meeting at one of the subway stations and getting on the bus, and then we went down to Shining Tree Woods. It was I think about 3 hours, 3.5 hours to get down there from Toronto, just to get to Bacchus Woods. And unfortunately, that day it was raining, so that was one excursion. I think that was back in 2015 or 2013 in there. And then I was on one other excursion with Nanps. I volunteered to go with them. They were going down there. I think it was 2009, 2010. They were pulling up garlic mustard in the woods. Presently, there's quite a bit of it growing on the east side of the woods between the oil field and the forest. So if we do an excursion, it would have to be advertised, and we will have to maybe somehow have people meet somewhere if they're not going to be going by bus. And I think maybe we might do something like that maybe in the near future, but that would depend on what the committee decides and how we feel that it might affect the sensitive plants in the forest there. Because every time you step in there, you may damage a plant or something. There's so many of them growing there. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm sure, again, it's got to be done in the right place and the right time, but I'm sure there would be interest based on the what I saw, and so again, thank you.
Yeah, no problem with the slides going too fast. I think I was able to get in what I wanted to say, basically, with the presentation. The Land Management Committee has been dormant for quite a while, and it needed to be brought back up to something where we can start doing some stuff with it. It's a great responsibility of this group to be owning two properties, and the committee is responsible basically for representing the group by looking after the 2 properties. And fortunately, we have some really great people who are volunteering at the moment for the committee, and I'm looking forward to working again with all the people that are presently on the committee. Unfortunately, we lost a couple of 3 people, except for yourself, earlier in the year because of family issues, or they just had other things that they needed to be doing. Any other questions from anyone?
And I don't see anything in the chat, and there's no additional raised hands. So things are moving forward at a very quick beat. This AGM is on track to end a bit early. If there are no additional questions, we will move on to the next item, which does promise to bring a bit of joy and delight to your afternoon, as the membership who are present here today are going to help determine the winners of the 2023 Video Garden Contest. Members were encouraged to view the full length videos on Instagram or Facebook in advance, so hopefully you had an opportunity to do that. But fear not, Adam has prepared a lovely montage showing the video finalist, giving you a snapshot of what the entries were like. And Adam is going to go over a bit of the contest rules and the criteria before sharing the video montage. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the context rules for you guys on the screen. Adam, you can go ahead and maybe start the conversation as I bring this up.
All right. So thanks everyone. We did get 7 excellent entries this year to the Native Garden video contest that I hope you all had the time to watch on Instagram or Facebook. I was really pleased with them, and I'm excited to see the outcome of the contest this year. There's 2 categories for the contest, novice and experienced, which we've done. This is my 3rd year doing this now, so I think that's how long we've been doing it. So this year our contestants in the novice category was Elliot Storm, Ruth Mesmer and her community, Sarah Moitea Hadzata. And in the experience category, we had John McGee, Linda Capillaris, Monique Malo, and Saya Baheshti. Sorry if I mispronounced somebody's name. We do have 3 prizes for each of the categories. The first prize is $150 for each a novice and an experienced gardener. There's a second prize of $70 for each categories and a $25 third prize for each categories. So the prize money is comes from the Deborah Shute Fund, which is an annual donation of $500, and it's supposed to continue until 2026 that we're doing this. We're doing this in honor of Deborah Shute, who was a native plant photographer in Toronto, it seems. She did some work with the NEMPS. She worked with the TRCA, the Richmond Hill Naturalists. She was the inspiration of the pollinator information table at the NEMPS plant sales. So if you can come to the plant sale and you go to the information table, that was Deborah Schute's work. And she also was a horticulturist. She grew native plants from seed, and she made donations to the Richmond Hill Garden and Horticultural Annual Plant Sale. So the money, the foundation, the Deborah Shute Fund, is founded by her husband, Chong Sen Long, who is doing it in her memory. All right, yes, and so as you can see, we want to, this is really about trying to inspire people to grow gardens on their property, to create habitat, and we want people to keep eyes out. Are there native birds in your garden? Are there native insects? If you look on the plants, do you see native ants or native bees or native Lepidoptera butterflies or moths? And okay, so Deborah was a resident of Richmond Hill. Thank you, Gloria. So that's what this is really about, and it's really about trying to create community across the NEMPS members and across North America, where we can cultivate, this awareness for the native plants and the value of habitat. And we're trying to inspire people to collaborate with each other. And I think it's done a pretty good job of that. I've learned a lot myself these past few years watching the videos. Everyone is very, very skilled and very passionate about what they do, and it's really inspiring. So I think that that about covers it. We'll share the montage, and I hope that you had the chance to watch the videos. I think I was going to share the montage. Is that right?
That's correct, Adam, with the version that you were working on. you can go ahead and share your screen. And as you're getting that in order, I'll just give some people some follow instructions. So to help things along, we're going to be doing a poll after the montage is complete. So just jot down your favorites at the end of it, and the poll is going to go up 2 questions, one for your novice and one for your experience, so the preferred person. And we should see across the screen who's leading the pack, and we'll go in descending order. So the person who gets the most votes will be prize winner number 1, and second most votes, prize winner number 2, and so forth and so on. In the event that there's a tiebreaker, we're going to relaunch a poll and do it excluding the first runner. And if that doesn't make sense, it will make sense as we go through the process. So, and it may just take a few moments for Adam to share his screen, but that's the gist of it.
I guess that I can't share until somebody else has to cease the sharing.
I will stop sharing right now. You should have power now. And further to what Adam was saying, the entries have been amazing. The level of detail, the quality, the time that people dedicated to this project really comes through. So if by chance you did not get a chance to see the films in their entirety, I cannot encourage you enough to go and visit our Instagram and Facebook pages to see these films from start to finish. They were amazing.
All right, so you should be able to see a picture of Deborah Shoot here.
Correct.
That I just wanted to share. That's Deborah. So yeah, this is only 6.5 minutes, so my apologies that it's not any longer. I did lengthen it a bit. We were doing 5 minutes in the past, but we've had more contestants in the last couple of years, so it probably should be a bit longer, but hopefully it all makes sense. I had to edit it a bit last minute, so apologies if there's any sort of discrepancies, but just
grass. A couple years into it, I've replaced roughly 900 square feet of sod with 78 native species of shrubs, forbs, grasses, and sedges. This is the biggest bed. You can see it's filled with early everlasting, gray-headed coneflower, false sunflower, some milkweed, some asters there, some liatris cylindrical blazing star right there. This giant sea of largely at this point self-seeded wild columbine. And this is the youngest bed with lots of newly planted shade-loving perennials like bloodroot, wild ginger, woodland phlox, black cohosh, some shade-loving asters as well. My approach is pretty straightforward. So I plant for ecological reasons, to create habitat
and smother the thick grass. Overlapping heavy cardboard was held down by rocks and then covered with a thick layer of mulch over the 25 by 45 foot curving shape. Individuals began collecting recommended plants, all native to our area, from local garden stores, annual sales of public gardens, including the North Carolina Botanical Garden, and donations from individuals. By early May, the cardboard and grass had decomposed quickly due to a wet, warm spring, and the garden was ready for planting. After all of the planning and preparation, we could enjoy the fun part, putting the plants in the ground. Once the first plants were in, volunteers signed up.
So our first winter, I put down cardboard and mulch, and in the spring, I started planting. My soil was basically a big lump of clay. Instead of amending it, I researched which native plants would thrive. My foxglove beard tongue was one of my first blooms. I planted purple and yellow coneflower, nodding onion, and prairie smoke. My narrow-leaved vervain was especially beautiful through the summer. And now my pearly everlasting, little blue stem, and switchgrass are the stars. I hope my heart-leaved asters will still be in bloom by the time we welcome our first baby this fall. We will now have a beautiful native garden to grow up with.
Blue jays, robins, red-winged blackbirds, Baltimore orioles, hummingbirds, sparrows, and many more. Shrubs and trees are an essential part of a native garden, providing food and shelter for many birds, insects, and of course the bees. Shrubs also add shape and structure to the aesthetics. Some of the shrubs in our garden include the purple flowering raspberry, ninebark, alderleaf buckthorn, winterberry, silky dogwood, red osier, and gray dogwood, American hazelnut, beech tree, tulip tree, Saskatoon, Carolinian rose, vagrant sumac, spice bush, and bush honeysuckle under the tower. The lady of the garden, born of a stacked pile of logs, lives in a bed of ostrich ferns off of our back deck. Woodpecker has been using her for food, finding the insects and ants that live in her wood. She has gone through many transformations as something that you enjoy, and that is eating ice cream. So I use a Baskin-Robbins spoon to make an indentation for larger seedlings, perfect to place them in, and add some soil gently around the seedling to pot them up. And don't forget to add a label. These are actually horizontal blinds that I've cut up, and I use a really soft pencil like a 4B or 5B to write the name on them. And they do not wipe off or fade. For smaller seedlings, Baskin-Robbins really comes through because you make the indentation completely with that spoon, and it's the perfect size. So you can place the little seedling and tuck it in and add more soil.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Adam. That was a nice little refresher to remind people of who it is that they are voting for. At this point, I'm going to put up the poll, and I invite you members to vote on who you liked. You should see it pop up on your screen. choosing your preferred person for category number 1, the novice, Elliot Storm, Ruth Mesmer, and Sarah as those finalists. And for the experience category, we have John McGee, Linda Capillaris, Monique Malou, and Shea. And it goes, they were presented in that order, if that helps as well. And the poll should be coming up on your screen. Yes, I see people. So Sarah is currently the front runner right now for the novice category, followed, now they're tied. Now she took the lead again, then followed by Elliot and Ruth. So it's a clear order for that one. And also a clear order for the experience category. Say taking the lead, second place going to Monique, and it's going to be a tie for John and Linda at present. We may need to rerun the polls just so we can get a clear third place winner. I'm going to keep the poll open for 10 more seconds, but I think all those people that can participate have participated. Okay, the polls are closed. I would ask one of the fellow board members just to jot down, partially Adam, the winners. So congratulations to Sarah for taking the first place winner for the novice category. Second place will go to Elliot Storm, and third place will go to Ruth. Congratulations. Really great work put forth. In the experience category, the first prize is going to go to Sayi. Again, apologies if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. And second place will go to Monique. We will rerun this part of the poll, and I would ask those membership present to only respond between John and Linda for the experience category. Again, I'm going to relaunch this poll to determine who the third place winner is going to be in the experienced category, if it's going to be Linda or John. So when you vote, only vote between those two finalists. Closing the poll and relaunching it. One moment, please and thank you. Okay, so the poll is up again. Please focus on question number 2, experience category. Only vote between Linda and John, please. Well, you guys are quick. And so far, Linda has pulled out in the lead quite rapidly. And those that hold it open for 9 more seconds, but it looks like the winner is clear. The third prize for the experience category is going to go to Linda. So congratulations, Linda. Adam, if you want to just give a little rundown on how claiming one's prize is going to go.
You don't have to claim your prize. I'll send you an email. I have everyone's emails, and we'll get your address, and then I'll forward that to Blair, our financial officer, and he'll send out your awards.
Excellent. So again, thanks again for everyone who submitted their videos. I can't say this enough. They were amazing. And as Adam said, Nanps will contact the prize winners. And for anyone, again, who was not able to view the full videos, or you just simply want to rewatch them because they were that good, you can see them on Instagram, Facebook, and possibly, Adam, you may know, YouTube in the future. But for sure, right now, they're on Instagram and Facebook. And with that, we are coming to the near end of our AGM. We just have a few final announcements. Nanps is looking for a volunteer event coordinator to help organize and coordinate volunteer resources that are needed to support our volunteer-based events. It is a part-time volunteer position. If interested, more information is available on the Nanps website. Please, please, please have a look. It's a very, very worthy position that would help our volunteer-run organization a lot. And Blair is going to speak to you shortly about Giving Tuesday, which is coming up later this year. So Blair is going to take the stage about this worthy fundraising campaign.
All right, thanks, Natasha. Yeah, before I think about an extra 30 seconds to work with, but just wanted to echo your sentiments about the video contest. I think the quality goes up every year. It was very impressive, and thank you to all who participated, and thanks to Adam for taking on the responsibility of managing the program this year again. So thanks, Adam. But yeah, back to the point you've raised, something else for everyone to be aware of is that our main fundraiser in the fall is coming up, and that is Giving Tuesday. So for those of you not aware, Giving Tuesday is a global event. If you are not-for-profit minded, not-for-profit organization minded person, you're probably well aware of Giving Tuesday because everyone contacts you, and we'll be certainly communicating with you as that day approaches. But it's a chance for not-for-profit organizations to spotlight their work, the benefits that they give to society. And for Nanps, certainly it's a chance to remind everyone of our mission of promoting and educating, propagating the world of native plants and its native plants' importance to the greater ecosystem of North America. So Giving Tuesday is about financial support, but it's also about a willingness to volunteer. And there's one thing that the board continues to talk about is, if you're interested in native plants and have time to give, we'd love to hear from you. There's so many things that we'd like to do, and I think our biggest challenge is getting volunteers, and so you'll be hearing more about us or more about that from us over the course of this year. But again, Giving Tuesday coming, and it is Tuesday, November 28th this year. So watch for communications from Nanps. There'll be an email, there'll be stuff on social media. So thanks for the time.
Thanks, Blair. Again, we're ready to wrap up the annual general meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time out of the day to attend today's meeting. It really was great to get to kind of engage with you all. Nanps' future and its work with the community really feels bright, and we're looking forward to another great year ahead. Please keep your eyes open on our social media channels and on the website for any upcoming events or our broadcast that we have. That being said, the 2023 Nanps AGM is officially called to an end. Please enjoy the rest of your day. And as I mentioned, this recording will be provided on our website. At the end, we do have a question coming in. I see it. I see your hand.
My hand?
Blair, I guess it's your it's your hand.
Oh, I thought we were voting to close the meeting, and I was just
Oh.
voting in support.
Okay.
All right, I'll lower my hand. My apologies.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.